Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Church here in Plano, Texas. My name is Reverend Dr. Aija Duelm. I'm the minister here. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I welcome you here for the worship service, whether you are here in person or watching us online. We're glad that you're here, whether this is your first time here or recent time that you've joined here with us here, or whether you've been here for longer than you can remember. We're glad you're here. We here at this community church, we welcome people of all faiths and people who do not claim any faith in particular. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your journey, you're welcome among us. Our call to worship this morning comes from Melanie Morel-Ensminger. Come. Come, whoever you are. You are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter how you came here, if you came alone or with others, you are welcome here. No matter whom you love or how you speak or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears in your eyes, you are welcome here. If you come here with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands, then you are indeed welcome here. Come, let us worship together. I want to tell you a little bit about my experience with UBarU, and many of you have heard about this place. It's a retreat center in the hill country part of Texas. There are many events that are hosted there, and one of those events that I have been connected with are the children camps in the summer. And there is a tradition during these camps that at the very end of the day, we all gather together in a circle to look back at the day, how it went, and to wish everyone good night. As you can imagine, children, after a long day, even if they are middle schoolers, it's not always easy and quick to gather in a circle. There's always someone coming up late. There's always a group that is bunched together and still talking or just waiting for something, not being aware that there might be somebody else who's behind them. But we never start our evening circle until everybody is included in that circle. So I always would tell them, we will make the circle as wide as we have to so that everyone is included. And sometimes it takes quite some time for us to get there, but we do. They always make space for everyone. They always back up. They always make room for their fellow campers to join and their staff people that are there to join. In this community, too, we strive to be inclusive. We strive to welcome everyone who comes through our doors. And we welcome all who find a spiritual home here. Families, elders, people of different ethnicities, gender identities, economic means, and abilities. This welcome is an amazing spiritual practice, and it becomes very meaningful to us who have experienced it. Lisa Presley from UUA says these words: when folks who have never heard about UUism find their way into congregations, for many it's a sudden, I'm home feeling. And that's often accompanied by the question, why didn't anyone tell me about UUism before? Being radically welcoming means that we understand that we are a great religious fit for many people, and that we are not just willing to let in those who are like us, but we find ways to make sure that we welcome all people fully. This means that folks don't have to hide parts of themselves. Whether they are heterosexual, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, they are welcome here. Unquote. It's the 1st of October, and October is the LGBTQ History Month. So this is the time when we celebrate accomplishments, achievements of LGBTQ persons of the movement itself. Almost 30 years ago, that was in 1994, Rodney Wilson was a Missouri high school teacher who gathered together a group of people, teachers and leaders, who believed that there should be a month dedicated to celebrate and teach gay and lesbian history. They selected October because we already had important dates in October, like the Coming Out Day, National Coming Out Day on October 11th. This commemorates the first and the second marches on Washington. So the first was in 1979, and then the second one, 1987, which was one of the largest LGBT political rallies in D.C. And it was quite a significant step in moving us closer to equality. So in celebrating this History Month, LGBTQ History Month, I would like to lift up what has happened in our faith, the accomplishments and achievements of persons that are connected to our faith who have worked to end discrimination against LGBTQ plus persons. And before I begin, I offer a disclaimer that I speak as a heterosexual cis female, and my understanding of sexuality and gender has been shaped through my experiences as well as my studies at the seminary, through the doctoral program and being an OWL facilitator. And OWL stands for Our Whole Lives, and it is a comprehensive sexuality education program. What I have learned through these years that sexuality and gender are beautiful parts of our identities. And also that people have attempted to use these different identities to assert power instead of celebrating and enjoying them as unique gifts. So I support the movement that works to stand up against attempts to minimize the rights of LGBTQ persons, and I have a commitment to continue to learn and grow in my understanding of these various issues that are involved in this fight. So let's talk about sex, sexuality, gender, and how did we, as UUs, got involved in all this. After the Stonewall riots in 1969, the very first minister who came out as a gay man was a UU minister, Reverend James Stohl. He, like many other closeted gay professionals, was both furious and inspired by the Stonewall Rebellion earlier that summer. And he came out powerfully in a moving sermon and worship service at a conference in Colorado, saying that if the revolution we are in means anything, it means we have the right to be ourselves without shame or fear. Just to bring us back to that time, it was a daring thing to say. The stakes seemed high. There was no clear indication about what would the Unitarian Universalist Association do in response to this. Would he lose his fellowship status? Would anyone at the conference get in trouble? What would be the effect on Jim's family and friends? The response from UUA came the next summer, in July 1970, at the annual meeting that we know as GA, General Assembly, which happened in Seattle, Washington that year. The UUA passed a resolution condemning discrimination against homosexual persons. That was the language they used at the time. And they urged UUA to work towards ending the discrimination against LGBTQ people. That very next year, UUs began teaching sexuality, about sexuality and gender, and the curriculum at the time was called About Your Sexuality, and now we know it as OWL, as Our Whole Lives curriculum. It has evolved throughout the years. Then in 1989, UUA began the Welcoming Congregations program, and that is specifically a program that that invites congregations to rethink how they address LGBTQ issues in their congregation, to grow in learning, grow in their practices and welcoming practices, and then they do receive a certification status for it. Community UU Church joined this program and received their status as a welcoming congregation pretty soon thereafter, in 1991. And today, about 85% of all UUs attend a welcoming congregation. And that's because every single congregation has to do the work to receive this status. And there are some small congregations that haven't had the chance or decision to pursue that. If we look at Canada, 99% of Canadians attend a welcoming congregation. We also began to support marriage equality in the 90s, and we didn't stop campaigning for it until the Federal Marriage Act Amendment was signed in 2017. We have paid attention to our language and worked toward using inclusive words. When we sing our hymns, we look at the words that we're singing, and we sometimes make corrections in the lyrics. We also adjusted our principles to include all people, not just men and women. We continue to work on revisiting our core principles and values, and we are in the midst of a huge transition in what those will look like. We continue to seek and break our habits of using only two gender pronouns when we talk about our diversity of gender identities among us. So much has been accomplished. These are things to celebrate, from marriage equality to comprehensive sexuality education resources, to vocabulary adjustments, to changes in our attitudes and biases. And yet, when we see what's happening today in the wider world, it can be very easy to dismiss these successes. Our legislative arenas are overwhelmed today with anti-LGBTQ attempts. And there's also a rise in hate crimes, which are heartbreaking and deeply concerning. I do find it heartbreaking and appalling and discouraging at times to see how many governments, state governments, have focused their attention to regulate gender expressions instead of addressing poverty and climate change. And it's impossible to cover the whole United States in one sermon, so I will focus on what is happening here in our state, in Texas. During this last legislative session, we saw a record high number of anti-LGBTQ bills. There were a total of more than 140 bills filed. Equality Texas, which is an LGBTQ advocacy group, has been tracking these bills and fighting and encouraging us to join their fight against these proposals. So they were deeply involved, and this is what they said. There is no advocacy guidebook for how to navigate this political landscape. So we have relied on each other and the collective knowledge, wisdom, love, and care of our community. And due to the relentless work of advocates, many of these bills were stopped in their tracks. 7 were passed, creating significant negative impact. We do know that the fight's not over, that the fight against these bills continues. So the judge issued a restraining order on the drag ban. So currently, this law is not in effect. There's a temporary injunction issued. There's another temporary restraining order that was issued against the healthcare ban, but we all may have followed and read that it still did go into the effect because the general attorney was able to quickly appeal this injunction. And families are struggling and people are hurting. We need each other more than ever. We live in a place and time where practicing welcome is a courageous and daring thing, where we take risks to say out loud that we truly believe you are beautiful and you have a story to be told. To do so, we have to navigate our own safety needs in order to create a brave space where we can truly be a safe haven for our LGBTQ siblings and neighbors. There is an emotional work that happens if we are living the welcome. We have our theological guidelines and practical details of how this work could happen, but they only work when our hearts are truly open. And we need these spaces to be able to lean on each other for support and encouragement, to keep living on the side of love and welcome. Jennifer Bailey wrote in her blog, "Together we will create a brave space, because there is no such thing as a safe space. We exist in a real world. We all carry scars, and we have all caused wounds. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world and amplify our voices. Amplify the voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call on each other to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. We will not be perfect. This space will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be, but it will be our brave space together. And we will work on it side by side. We invite you to pull up a chair. Yes, one dinner will not change the world. One conversation will not heal all wounds, yet it can be a start, and beginning is half a battle. So we are in this. There is a resolve in this congregation to do one thing at a time. Yesterday, many of you were at the Plano Pride Festival, thanks to Kiki, who organized our booth, and it is gorgeous. We have a welcoming congregations team who will work on the renewal of our welcoming congregation status. We are hoping to have OWL classes to provide a sexuality education that is comprehensive, that is non-judgmental, that talks about consent as the most important thing, that we all have the right to say no or say yes when we are ready for sexual encounters. We're sending our facilitators to receive the training to teach these classes. So one step at a time, we're going to build a brave space, a home, and we need each one of us joining in building this space. But today, we all just pull up our chairs and join in the circle and sing. You are a yes. You are an inspiration, a story to be told. You are a celebration and wonder to behold. You are so much more. You are a yes. Will you sing with us?